Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to Raising the New Earth podcast. Hi, Brooke.
Hi, Noah.
We have a dear friend and a guest today. Her name is Raffaella Dobles. She is a postpartum doula. She will share her own experience working with that alongside with her own birthing journey. She also has a beautiful business. It's called Sewing Smiles that we would like for her to share. And without further ado, Raffi, welcome to our podcast.
Hi, so excited to be here. So good to see your face.
So good to see yours. Raffi is a longtime friend of mine, so I'm really excited to have her on. So tell us a little bit about your background, kind of like let's go back a little bit. Share with us.
Yeah. So I started my postpartum journey as far as the work in the postpartum world after I had my second daughter. She's now 6. So that was about 6 years ago. And it was because of my own journey in postpartum, which I feel like is the story for many women who end up being doulas. I had my first panic attack after I had my second daughter, and I sat at home. My husband had to go back to work, and I thought, well, I can't handle this. I can't heal and handle the pressure of I had an 18-month-old at the time. What am I going to do? This is bananas. How do I feed myself? I was tandem nursing at that point. I had weaned my daughter, my 18-month-old, off, and of course, she saw that I was nursing again and said, "What do you mean? What do you mean, her, not me?" So she latched back on, and it was a short period. It was only a few months that I could handle it. But the reality of the situation really hit. I had a retained placenta in my second birth, which was a very interesting scenario where the cord had separated at the placenta, not the other way around. So the placenta was stuck, but there was nothing attached, which led to a very scary situation, as well as opened up a whole world of trauma that decided to arise in my postpartum journey, which I realized was that panic attack, everything starting to come up. And in healing myself, which was a long journey, I'm still healing all of that as it comes up in layers. My heart got so involved and so meshed with the postpartum world and the need for nourishment on all levels that we just miss. And we're so, as a society, disconnected from the importance of these months, these moments postpartum, right? And if we miss that opportunity to create an environment that allows for a secure attachment for the family and for the mother and child, for the partner and child, we can either set people up for success or set them up for illness and failure and depression and so many mental health issues. And so that was like the big wake up of, I want to do this work. And it's not something that just like, oh, you heal from postpartum, right? Like we have these babies, we're forever postpartum, and postpartum depression can show up years later. It doesn't happen initially. It doesn't have to show up in the first month. It's just such a layered issue. And I think people just think like, oh, you're healed, or, oh, your baby's fine. Baby's fine. It's okay. Oh, you don't sleep. That's okay. It'll pass, right? We just kind of like pat the mom on the back and then move on. Or, oh, you don't want to breastfeed. Let's just do formula. It's easier. Everything's easier if we just like pass things along. Let's keep putting things under the rug. And then mom's home with whichever decision you make, right? Whether it's formula or, I mean, there's pressure in all of it while the mom's healing on so many levels and becoming a new human, becoming a new woman, right? It's her birth as well. And I think people just assume that baby's fine. You did it, but you're home. It's okay. And that's not the reality. That's not what, that only creates more chaos in a woman's body. It only creates illness, whether it's emotions that are suppressed or, like true depletion, nutrition that's lacking. And it's clearly, I have a big heart for it, but it's just so, it's such a missed opportunity if not supported in, if it's not supported, period.
Yeah. How do people, and when do people usually seek your service? Do they have a birth plan that includes a postpartum plan, or do they give it a shot for a few months and then it's like, I can't do it, I need something?
Yeah. A lot of the moms that call me are in panic mode. They had this idea of what their birth was going to be. Their birth did not go that way. And then it's, oh my gosh, I'm a failure. What do I do? My baby's not latching right away. Is it my fault? Right. And then so we've put so much pressure on like this ideal birth, the birth plans, right? And it's wonderful. It's wonderful that these mothers want to be educated. They want to make these decisions. It's beautiful that we're more active in our births. But with that is, right, that's just the beginning. That's just the beginning. And there's two people involved, at least two people involved. There's the baby in the womb and there's the mother. And they might have very different plans. So like, it's beautiful that you have your birth plan. Wonderful. But that baby comes into this world, that baby comes into this womb with a whole other agenda, and might be a C-section, might be a vaginal birth, right? Who knows? So it's great that you come in with your birth plan, you come in informed. There's so many factors. And I think people go in, and especially for firstborns, right, with this idealistic, I have found that it's either idealistic or very fear-based. Well, I don't know what to do. I don't want, like, very, very fear-based. And then the postpartum hits, and that fear has either been transmuted into a different type of fear, right? A different type of energy that's coming out of that mother. Or it's this shock to the system of maybe it's not a traumatic birth, but then you're sitting at home with the baby and no one told you about breastfeeding. No one told you that it was going to be hard. No one told you that your nipples need time to get longer. No one told you, explained all of these things. And it's usually in that moment, or a mother who has had a C-section or a very long birth, and they had to have an unexpected epidural. And so there's this like lag. And that's usually when I get I'm not healing. There's, some pus coming out of the sutures. I have a fever. What do I do? Or I haven't slept. I don't know what I'm doing. It's this panic mode. And I wish it was different. But also you don't know what you don't know. And that is unfortunate, but also very much the truth. You don't know what your experience is going to be like. You don't know what you're going to need. There's so many things. Maybe your mother-in-law wants to be really involved and you don't feel comfortable, and then there's what traumas were brought up from your past was, I found that it's usually afterwards, postpartum, that I will learn something either about the relationship between the husband and wife, where maybe the mother did not feel like they could fully sit in trust with their partner during the birth, whether it's maybe they're going through a hard time and she doesn't feel safe. And I don't mean safe in the sense of physical abuse, which that is an aspect that can show up during birth. If there's a history of abuse, that can absolutely show up during birth. And we know that, I'm sure it's much more frequent. 1 in 4 women will probably say that's generous as far as sexual abuse, and it shows up. It's the most vulnerable, I would say, one of the most vulnerable experiences you're ever going to go through. Your legs are wide open, right? You've got who knows what your history is. You have people coming in and out of, if you're in a hospital, you might have people coming in and out of the room every 10 minutes checking you. There's no sense of calm. If you're in a home birth, then it's different. It's very different. Those experiences have been different, and usually it's a much calmer postpartum scenario. But there's so many layers, and I have found, and I feel that they all come up postpartum. They all bubble over in that moment of panic, the moment of no sleep, the moment of confusion, of your whole world has changed. Your physiology has changed for the rest of your life. Your whole world has changed. Your family dynamic has changed. And you have to face a lot of stuff when you're tired, when you don't feel well physically. And if you don't get those addressed, then they will always show up later. Always.
Yeah.
I love how earlier you mentioned like that you're not just birthing another human, but you're birthing another version of yourself as well.
Yeah.
Because I think that, and I just looking at my own experience, I think that in a lot of ways that prolonged my kind of understanding of the postpartum period and how I navigated all of that, because I didn't really fully realize that, I was a different person than before, she was born, my daughter was born. So, just looking back too, and just reflecting on my experience, like I had a birth doula and I read a lot of books and I knew I wanted to breastfeed and read so much about it. However, when you're in it and like you were saying, your lack of sleep and you've been through this huge birth, like that stuff that you learned isn't necessarily, you're not recalling it. So
no.
The value of being able to have someone right there with you and support, it's kind of shocking to me, because even for me, I had midwives and it had much more of like that natural experience, as in like, more less reliant on the
less interventions. Yeah,
exactly. However, I feel like there still wasn't a lot of emphasis on the postpartum. I mean, there was a little bit more, like probably than you get in a regular medical practice. But just looking back, like for instance, I was in the hospital, and because it was a hospital birth with midwives, which was for me what I really wished. But a nurse just offhandedly was like, you're probably going to want to stay up with her, which I'm so appreciative that she said this, because that's going to help your milk come in and your breastfeeding journey is going to be so much better. And she just offhandedly told me this thing that, reflecting back, I'm like, I don't know if I would have, been able to breastfeed as much if I hadn't realized that, like, I needed to just continually, allow her to be just simple things like that I feel like were more offhanded remarks that I just happened to pick up on than like really that full support. So I reflect everything that you say. Yeah.
It's interesting. I love that nurse came in and just gave you that like little bit, because I think, each experience is so specific, right? Like I think about, it's funny, and I'm not knocking anyone who creates courses for postpartum or anything, but I have such an internal battle with, like, there's not so much the reading the book versus, but there was nothing in that book that applies to my situation. So now what do I do? And then if there's no one there to guide you, or if there's no one there who understands the intricacies of who you are as a mother, your wants as a mother, or a family as a family unit. I had a mother who she really wanted to nurse she had a very long birth and was exhausted, and she had a hard time with the latch. And even now, she's still trying so hard for that latch. And no one asked her what she wanted. They just said, just do formula. Why are you worrying about that? Just do formula. And she called crying and she said, this is really on my heart to do it this way. And she's a month out and she is still trying. But people they don't know that that's on her heart. They're not respectful of, okay, this is really what you want to do. Let's work as hard as we can to make sure that happens. And if it doesn't happen, let's pivot together. Let's make a plan together. And so much of it is you're creating plans, right? You're problem solving. Love to problem solve. Okay. And not that everything's a problem. I want to be careful as to say problem, but you're finding solutions for situations and you're hearing someone's words. And so much of it is they want to be heard. They just went through mothers go through this whole experience and they deserve to be heard. We all deserve to, let me sit at the end of the bed. We don't have to talk, but if you want to talk, I'm here. That's it. There are hours where I'm going to hold your baby, you sleep. That's it. Okay. I see you. It's not like it's sometimes it's not that complicated. Sometimes it's, I see your heart. I see who you are. I see your intentions. I see your family. I see your cultural backgrounds or your religious wants and needs. I had a family where the first thing they wanted was prayer over their child. And in that moment, and here we go. The room is quiet. I see you. This is important. We're not going to do anything else. Let's pray over your child. But that takes the time and the conversations and understanding of someone's heart, of understanding where they stand in the world. And I feel like so much now has gone towards convenience and automating and this and that. But so much of the postpartum is I see you. What can we do? What do you need?
So beautiful.
Yeah. And that's so true too, that like, because I know what you're talking with, just like it's okay to use formula, which sure, maybe it is, but like if the mother really, really wants to breastfeed, then everything should be done to, support her and having that choice. And and I think that goes a lot back also to just like the expectation of like maternity leave, like, oh, now just like figure out how to pump and you'll be able to supply the milk and there won't be any issues there. And I mean, it's just like rush. And it's like, that's not, that's kind of often in direct opposition of what is needed when you've just birthed a child into the world. And I think, it's changing a lot of attitude around that.
And the intention of the mother, I think what Raffi's saying so beautifully is like, the intention of the mother should be kept. This is what she wishes to do. And so why are we pushing a different agenda upon her?
Yeah.
When we can make her wish come true, if we have the proper empathy, the proper tools, the proper big heart that Raffi brings to the job. We have a couple that utilized Raffi services. They just didn't want to let her go, which leads to my next question. Like, when do you feel that it's time for you to have the family kind of merge together and not need you? And how emotionally difficult is this decision for you and or the family?
My goal is to work myself out of a job. That's my goal. My goal is, we have set you up for success. Call me if you need me. High five, hugs. I love you. I'm gone. You don't need me anymore. That's my goal. I want to work myself out of a job. But it's hard. And the situations are so specific that if I see that a mother, even though I've referred her out for mental health, right? That's the biggest thing. I'm not a medical professional. I'm not going to sit here and diagnose you. That is not my job. That is absolutely against what I should be doing. So I'm going to refer you out. But if you want to keep talking to me, I'm here to listen. I will continue to refer you out if I notice any mental health or anything really, even if it's nutrition or whatever. And if I see a mother that she's still not getting the help she needs, then I'll continue to check in on her and press, hey, have you called that therapist yet? Or, hey, have you found a group to connect with yet? Or what have you done this week? And that's the thing too, is in the beginning, if we don't respect the mother's intentions and the family's wishes, you can, there's a separation, right? There's, well, no one's listening to me. Well, what's the point? Right. And then there's the potential that you see this disconnect, and that mental health is a huge issue, right? If those things aren't going to get acknowledged, if a woman doesn't feel seen, if she doesn't feel hurt, then what's the point? What's the point of doing this? My child doesn't need me. They can just have this person give them formula. This person, you know, it's so those, as long as I see that the family, and I have worked with the family to set them up for success, I'm working myself out of a job. If I see any red flags, then I will check in, then I will stay. I'll have we'll have a family meeting, a conversation of these are the things I'm concerned about. There's also if you have a second child or third child, right? So those transitions into another child at home, those are transitions for the child too. And you can see certain stressors come up. You can see regressions with children. And usually you see it with like 0 to 5, 0 to 6, where they can't necessarily express themselves, but they're under stress. So if I see that a child is under stress or showing signs of stress, then I'll say, okay, I think maybe they need some play therapy. Here's someone that you can see, or we'll talk to, we'll find a solution. We will figure it out. But if there are any red flags or anything that makes me feel off, that I'm not setting them up for success, then I'll just stick around. Maybe it's a once a week check-in, maybe once every 2 weeks, maybe it's once a month, but I'm not going to leave that family just like, all right, peace out. My time's up. It would go against everything that I feel. It undoes so much work that you put in the previous months. And you don't want a family to feel abandoned of, oh my gosh, 3 months is up. 3 months is up. Now what do I do? Now who am I going to call?
What you're talking about is such a impactful subject. I feel that you immersing yourself in the family's dynamic, in their own entanglement, in their own challenges, issues, advantages, because it's a family. It's family. I think it's the most complicated system we have.
Yeah.
And you keeping your health and your mental capacity enough for both yourself as a healer, as a practitioner, a postpartum doula, and for the family. Like, where do you end? Where do they begin? It seems so complicated.
Yeah. So I stuck my toe in the birth doula world for a little bit. And I've had, in these past 3 years, I've been having my own healing journey with a cancer of the vulva, which is very interesting because a lot of my own healing has been paying attention to myself as though I'm postpartum. The nutrition, all of it, I even laughed at a moment. I was with a nurse who was kind of walking me through some things, and I just laughed because I was like, all the ointment I'm using, everything are all the tools that I would give a client postpartum. And it was this moment where I sat there and it made me reflect on, oh my gosh, did I neglect myself? Am I neglecting myself as I help others? And it was a really big, face palm moment. And in these past 3 years, as I'm healing, I did dip my toe in the doula world. And there was a moment where a mother had to have a procedure, and it was not perceived as trauma to the mother. But in that moment, I had a visceral feeling of, no, I can't see this. This is something that my body, on a cellular level, I am not able to handle this. And if I walk into a room where I have not dealt with my own experiences, that's not fair to the mother, that's not fair to the family, and it's not fair to me. And there have been moments repeatedly, and I think it's hard because as healers, as mothers, we want to care for others. It's just innately in our souls. And there is that line of, okay, you're relying on me a little too much, right? Okay. So, hey, these are some resources. This is who you should talk to. This is the appropriate person that can help you. I can hear you, but I cannot help you. And this is now, right? Every text message, every hour, or calling too much. And it's not to say I don't want to help you, but if I'm not the person that can help you through this situation, you need to find someone else, because I'm not a dumping bag. I'm not your place to just dump everything that upsets you, everything that has ever upset you. That's not constructive. It's not helpful. It's not helpful to anyone. But it's hard. It's hard. And there's still moments where I feel so much for a person, or maybe they were referred to me through a friend and I know them too intimately, and then I'm too invested. And so I do most things through referrals. I feel like that is the best way that I have matched with families the best. But if it's too close, I have found that I get too invested and I step back. But it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
When you had that realization, do you feel that, or how do you feel like that impacted the way you work with others and healing yourself? Like, how does that integrate with each other?
Ooh, it was a moment where I struggle because I fall into like a rhythm, and I could easily brush it off and say, maybe it was just that birth, or maybe it was just this or that. But it has pushed me to be more honest with myself and more, in a way, strict with how I either position myself physically with people. Like in that birth, in that moment, I knew I can't stand here. This cannot be my job. So it was holding a leg. I can't hold this person's leg. I'm going to move my body. So I don't have that view. I basically position myself physically, emotionally, mentally in different ways to create either a physical boundary or a mental, emotional wall. But in a way, it was a blessing, because there was still more for me to uncover for myself. There was still more of my own, because of the cancer being of the vulva, there's so much involved, and that it goes back. What I've found is that whenever all that visceral response in my body is triggered, it's okay, there's more for me to dig. There's more for me to unpack here. But with that comes, I need to set myself up for success and healing as well. And that means I don't just keep my view the same. I don't know if that was the answer that I was.
Yeah, no, yeah.
But it's like a pivot. I feel like so much of this work is like, how am I going to pivot now? How am I going to pivot now?
Yeah.
And yeah.
Well, I'm sure too, it's a lot of delving into your intuition, just like you were saying with viewing the birth. It's like you just knew with every, deep down to yourself. Yeah. Just that continual connection.
Mm-hmm.
And you hear a lot about the healers that were healing first before they became healers, just to realize they still have quite the way to heal. And it's incredible. So most of the practitioners that I know, that's how we became, and sought the path of empathy and helping others. but we can't forget, we can't neglect ourselves, because we are still human beings, we're still progressing, we're still evolving. And what you're saying about healthy boundaries is so important. Like, first and foremost, when you are okay, the people around you will be okay.
Yes.
Which leads me to the beautiful work you're doing with your girls. I see it a lot on Instagram, and I know your girls and I know your family, how you regulate their tantrums, their nervous system. So share with us some of the tricks and tips that have been helpful for your family, if you may.
Oh gosh, I just did one yesterday in the car.
In the car.
Yeah, in the car. Can you blow your hot chocolate now, please? Take a breath in, smell it, blow it now. That's one of them, the hot chocolate. So or your cup, your favorite cup of whatever, and you smell it, right? You take a big deep breath in, smell it. And a lot of it is, so I have them close their eyes, and not just like, haha, okay, I'm going to smell it, but I want you to close your eyes. Tell me what it smells like. Tell me what you think it's going to taste like. I want you fully immersed with as many senses as possible to calm it all down. Take a big breath in. Ooh, and now you're going to blow, cool down that chocolate, cool down that hot chocolate, or the, I don't know, tea, or whatever, whatever they come up with, watermelon, something, or, you know, whatever they come up with. The animal sounds, amazing. Use them for everything. So we'll do, I try and do back to back with them, or face to face holding hands, because it provides that connection that, no, we don't have to have the stress of eye contact. Maybe that's too much for your nervous system right now, but I'm connected with you. And so we'll do back to back. We'll say, take a big breath in. Now I want you to make the sound of a lion. Roar, right? On the next breath, I want you to make the sound of a bird. Cheep, 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 cheep. And they have so much fun with it. And you can go through as many animals as you want. And then they usually get over and they stand up and they walk away. And you're like, oh, cool, we did the thing. Check mark, we're done. You're regulated. You're done now. Yeah.
So wait, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, first of all, because I try to do like the deep breath in, but like to actually visualize, you know, a hot chocolate or whatever, and then to engage those senses. That's brilliant. I love that. And then the animal sounds. So is that like mid tantrum? You'll just say, let's sit back to back and start doing them, or
or you can even, so for me, and it might depend on the child, but I'll just go in and scoop them up and hold them. And I'll say, can you make a sound like a chipmunk? What does a chipmunk say? And at first, sometimes they get off me. I don't want to do this.
Right.
I don't want to do this right now. They do their thing. I'm like, okay, well, can I just hold you? More often than not, they won't say no. I think as they've gotten older, as my children have gotten older, there is more of a pushback, but then I let them go and I say, okay, I'm here if you need me. Whenever you need me, I'm just going to sit here and wait. And then they'll usually come back and they give me like a hug from the back, or, it takes them time to be like, I can't be mad because she's there for me. Or like, she's not doing anything, she's just sitting there. Or there's curiosity of, hey, do you want to play this game? Or, there's other things. It's turning more of like the curiosity on instead of fixing, right? You don't have to fix your child. It's getting curious of, what in the environment could have stimulated them too much, right? Maybe it's a dog barking outside too much, and maybe you didn't hear it, but your child heard it. So then you just sit there and you can kind of like notice the environment and see what's going on. Maybe it's you. Maybe you were in a bad mood and you didn't know it. And so you were being short with them. And then they got short with you because they reflect what you do, right? And then you say, oh man, I was in a bad mood. Okay, let's play a game. Or like even tic-tac-toe, or like, there's a beautiful, I love this. And sometimes I even do it with my husband. You can do 5 to 5. So you do coherent breathing, which is my favorite and applicable anywhere to anyone. It's 5.5 breaths in, counts in, and then 5.5 out, and 5.5. And it brings everything into coherence. And if you do it with a partner, you can do it maybe after an argument with your husband. Right now we're talking about children, but you can ask your child, hey, can you give me a high five? And then do high five, hand to hand. And on the up, you breathe in. Let me do it this way. On the up, you breathe in for 5 seconds. And on the down, you breathe out for 5 seconds. On the up, we're going to go up another mountain and breathe for 5 seconds. On the down, let's let that go, let that go, let that go. Up, we're going up another hill. Can you breathe in for 5 seconds and then down? And it spaces things out. It calms them. And it's the same thing. Sometimes if they don't want to do it, I'll just give them a big hug and say, can we play that game where we go up the mountains and breathe together? Or, if they want to play, they want connection and they want to play. And sometimes we overcomplicate. I think most times we overcomplicate things.
I agree.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, we do some similar things with our kids, but I love the animals and I love the hills with the 5 fingers. I use biofeedback headsets.
Mm-hmm.
And now that they're older, I have our little one, when our middle one throws a tantrum, I have the little one says, she just needs a hug. Go give her a hug. And then the middle one gets upset. Why are you telling her I need a hug? Like the whole thing. But that's exactly what they need. But I would add to that and say, you need regulated parents to be able to give. You need regulated humans to not be reactive because they are being reactive. You should not be in a tantrum mode. You can deal by the age of 20, 30, 40. I hope that you have learned to deal with your emotions some other way. So what you said about them feeding off of your vibe, you could have been short with them before and they're picking up on your frequency and now they're short with you. So taking the humble road and say, you know what, I'm sorry, I was wrong before. Mommy was upset about something else. It has nothing to do with you. I'm here with you right now. Yeah.
And I think so much, we had a situation here where sometimes my husband I think because this is my life, because this is my passion and my love is motherhood and 0 to 5 and all that. I think sometimes I get involved when I shouldn't, but there was one situation where my daughter said, stop to him. And then she's done it to me before. It was just a moment where I could observe it and speak to it in a clear way. And he was still trying to make his point. And I said, babe, she said, stop. She's in the red. She is done. She is in the red. She told you with her words, stop. That means stop. That means her brain is on overload. So if this is an ego, and let's be honest, sometimes it's an ego thing of maybe you just need to hear yourself talk. So go in, and it's all of us. No, I need to make my point. You need to understand me now, not when you're calm, not you 6-year-old, but I need to make my point. And it's so like, I laugh because can we just get out of our ego a little bit and see our children for who this is, a 6-year-old, or this is a 10-year-old, or even a 14-year-old, and they said, stop, that's overload. They're in the red. You shut it. Everyone shut it down, separate, take a walk, or do what you got to do to calm down and regulate. Or maybe it is a hug. Maybe it is coming together and saying, I'm so sorry. I did not hear you the way you needed to be heard, whatever it is. But like, sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, we're the ones who are so out of balance. And a lot of it too is this whole thing of what I found, like the constant rushing, or even the shoe conversation. Put on your shoes. Put on your shoes. Why aren't your shoes on? Can you put on your shoes? I need you to put on your shoes. A half hour later, the shoes aren't on. How angry do we get? I said, put on your shoes. And then you go, or maybe they just wanted you to help them put on your shoes. Maybe they were looking for a point of connection, and that would have taken 5 seconds, huh? And instead it was, it turns into a whole thing. It doesn't need to be, but it's that thing of, why are we in a rush? If safety is not an issue, why are we in a rush? If there's no emergency, no one's bleeding out, no one's cracked their head open, we don't have to rush it. Just take it easy. Go take a breath and come back. It's not worth stressing our kids out. We're then going to make us like the whole cycle, right? So, yeah.
Well, and it's like if we're in that much of a rush, what do we need to do to change that situation or be
Yes.
more prepared instead of putting our children to feel that rush
Absolutely.
and
For
tension?
sure. For
Yeah.
sure. Like
Yeah.
maybe this is on me.
Right.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and with you saying, like, with your daughter saying stop, I think that we often forget that, like, we can look, even though yes, it's a parent-child dynamic where you can kind of, it's easy to see that as like, I'm the
Right.
one who says it, but it's like they're many adults in a sense. I mean, they're not adults, I know, but they are their own souls, their own beings. We have to, like, if we don't show them that respect,
Yep.
with simple things like that, then why should we, when they especially start making their own decisions,
Absolutely.
expect to respect us, for like that respect is modeled, and that understanding, it goes both ways, and that's picked up from when they start being little, when they're little.
I pray that my children in their teens will remember that we respected each other in the early years. Like, I was please, I hope and I know in my heart that we have built the foundation, and it takes time and it takes work, and people can get overwhelmed. I think my situation specifically has led to a lot of conversations and a lot of things as far as the cancer stuff, as and having to be more aware of, yes, I'm going through something, but how is this affecting my child? And I don't, every family has their own dynamic, has their own situation. Maybe it's a job loss, maybe it's something, but I laugh because I'm like, I hope I've over communicated to the point where we're going to have a great relationship in your teens. We're going to respect each other. Remember this. But I'm like, man, and it's true. It's like these little things that in the moment of putting your shoes on seem so silly, but it's all that brick by brick. And we don't know what they perceive. And we don't know, like, in the moment, that might be when you sat down and put her shoe on, even though she bought a toy, even though she got a toy, even though she got ice cream that day, that moment, sitting down and having your mother put your shoes on for you, might be the highlight of that child's day, week, or month. You never know. And it's right, brick by brick, brick by brick.
Yeah.
I think that also talks to the power of intuition too. Like, okay, I want my child to be able to put his shoes on independently, but right now in this moment, like, I need to go and put them on, and I'm going to be okay with that. Yeah.
And on a spiritual level, with the children acting or being the beautiful souls that they are our teachers. So what have I not yet to learn about myself? If your partner is the one that holds a mirror against all your flaws and all your beauties, your children are the one on a microscopic level, on a cellular level, are the ones that are going to bring out the beauty in you and the nastiness in you. So what have I not yet to work on within myself that triggers me? And if it happens again and again and again, that takes work from the mother or the father. Work on yourself so that that will no longer be the push button that triggers me again. There
have been a more than a handful of moments where there are days, truthfully speaking, where I'm like, I don't know how to take care of myself today, especially early on after the diagnosis and surgery. And I did go through some conventional care, and where there was so much overwhelm, I had so much anger on this thing of, God, I have to take care of myself again. There's that story, that was my story. Oh, I'm all alone in this. I don't have my parent, I don't have my mother, I don't have my father, I don't have blah, blah, blah. And then all that anger and that overwhelm, it got pushed onto my child. And there were moments where I sat back, and luckily, and I feel so grateful that they're so smart, they're so in tune, and they know that, okay, mama's going through something, and they know, but that's not their stress to hold. That's mine. That's my story. And it's not the story that I want to push onto my child. It's not the story that they need to carry, because I, as a parent, am here. I am showing up for them. But in that moment of overwhelm and everything, going through hard stuff, that story, right? The story we tell ourselves, or whatever your inner world says, is taking over, right? And that's like that thing of what you're saying, regulating your system. But there are moments where it comes out. And
Yep.
I think also to touch on the point of showing yourself grace as well, and reconnecting with your child. But we don't want those stories to fall on our children. They carry, we know cellularly, they carry our stories, but I don't need to have them work through my story as well as their own. And I mean, we're all human. We all experience life, and it's hard. Sometimes we forget that, but they know. They're so in tune. They're so beautiful.
Yeah. Tell us how your business Sewing Smiles started.
It started because there was a moment on this cancer journey where the tumors were getting too large and I could not do anything. But on these appointments, so I still seek I have two teams. I have an integrative natural team, and then I have a conventional team. I see both a decent amount, but I was going to the center, and I noticed that I'm very lucky because out of all the centers, they are more integrative. But there's still just this like sadness and this in those centers. And I found a shirt at the thrift store that said, "You matter." And I wrote, that's actually how it started. It was "You matter." And then I thought, I don't want to like embroider "You matter," like blah, blah, blah. And it was actually Rue, my daughter, who goes, "Smiles, put smiles everywhere." And I was like, oh my gosh, it's so simple. Like, that's what people need, just smiles everywhere. Let's put them everywhere, on a jacket, on a onesie. And baby onesies are so popular. Everyone loves a baby onesie with a smile on the face, where you put the baby on your shoulder and you've got a big smiley face. I've done jean jackets, are awesome. They're so fun. And then like sweatshirts and hoodies where you lift the hoodie up and there's a big smiley face. And yeah, she was the one, smiles everywhere. I said, smiles everywhere in all these places and I thought, so now every time I go, I either wear the "You matter." I have a jumper that I embroidered "You matter" on the back. Sometimes I wear that, or I'll wear a smiley thing. So.
Oh,
Yeah.
beautiful. I love that. I love how it came about. So, and where can our listeners or our viewers find Sewing Smiles and your work as a postpartum doula?
Yeah, so I have my handle on Instagram is Here We Are HQ. That is the place that I check the most. You can also you can DM me. You can also email me. It's Dobles. I'll spell it out. DOBLES period RAF as in Frank, F as in Frank, AELLA @gmail.com. You can email me any requests or anything. The Etsy store has been slow to go. But yeah, you can just get right in my inbox and tell me what you want, and we'll make it happen for both postpartum and the smileys. Both.
A smiling postpartum journey.
Yeah.
Brooke, do you have any other questions?
No, your work is so important, and I'm so happy that you shared your story, and wonderful.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was such a great conversation.
Thank you, Raffi, and we'll see you again soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.